Sometimes, the technical glitch happens, so we cannot say. So
This
the
must
link
be
that we have
recorded, no?
given is.
Actually, I am not that tech savvy at this age, so whatever I need, I can understand that. But beyond that, doing something for the first time,
Okay, maybe I think I could ask you to remain silent for 5 minutes. Maybe I could just try to play the video clipping, and then when it finishes, then I could, begin the thing.
Okay, one thing that will there be questions from the audience? Like,
No audience.
no,
Okay. No audience.
Right. Well, it's just one
audience or this, and only the panel members would be in that audience. So we have audience. Oh yeah, great. This thing got been live. So thank you, and please remain silent for I would request not to mute, but let us see, because we are five together. So hello, my dear friends. Welcome to the My Book segment of the Fatal Brains, a place where poets meet together to share their minds. In this segment, we talk, launch, and discuss about books written by poets, authors, and writers, be it a storybook or a poetry book, be it a first or 10th, no matter what. Our panel members will be discussing about the same and will share their reviews, comments, their opinions, and their feedback. And about that, we will try to delve into the other's heart and get to know more about how the concept developed and what was the thought process that went into, well, the idea of penning down a particular story or a poem, and what things inspire a writer, or that prompted or propelled to write him or her to write. Today we had the honor of talking about the Icicles. Icicles, a collection of stories written by our esteemed guest and scholar and a luminary, Professor Narinder Jit Kaur, who is none other than a protagonist of the today's show. Let's welcome her with your wholehearted applause. We also have Dr. Roopali Sircar Gaur, Dr. Ms Sneha Goel, Dr. Goel, and Dr. Gargi Saha as discussant and moderators. We'll be shedding light on the book. Now, I would request Dr. Gargi Saha will be acting as a moderator, who is hailed from Pune. He's a award-winning writer poet, who is a PhD scholar, to hand over them to carry forward the show with their round of introductions and for the round of questions and answer session, etc. Thank you. It's over to Gargi Saha.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to be a part of this program, especially launching the Icicle, a collection of short stories by Dr. Narinder Jit Kaur. I would like to thank Dr. Roopali ma'am, Prasanna Kumar sir, and the entire fertile team of Fertile Brains for giving me this honor and recognition of a moderator. Fertile Brains, led by Prasanna Kumar sir, Roopali ma'am, Shilpa ma'am, Sunita ma'am, to mention a few, is doing a brilliant job of promoting poetry and poets all over the world. Every Sunday, it conducts open poetry recital, any theme for all poets across the globe. The host of the program is Mr. Prasanna Kumar sir. It not only conducts the open recital, but also uploads it on YouTube and rewards the poets' beautiful accolades. The Fertile Brain also invites Poetry Writing Challenge on a picture prompt and again boosts the morale of the poets by honoring them by mesmerizing certificates. The Fertile Brain believes in we rise by lifting others and has successfully brought out an anthology of poems, Manushatvam, Songs of Humanity, edited by Dr. Roopali Sircar Gaur and Prasanna Kumar. The book contains marvelous poems and shows the path of humanity by its wise collection of poems. The Fertile Brains is a platform that encourages new, emergent writers by launching my book, wherein the author's book is launched and discussed by the literary luminaries. Today's book, The Icicle, a collection of short stories by Dr. Narinder Jit Kaur, will be launched and discussed by Narinder Jit ma'am, Roopali ma'am, Sneha Goel ma'am, Prasanna sir. I would also like to share my views about the book. Now, a brief introduction of all the literary luminaries present here. Dr. Narinder Jit Kaur is a trilingual writer, a translator who writes with fair ease and finesse in English, Hindi, and Punjabi. Is a retired professor based in Patiala. Her articles, stories, and poems in all three languages are regularly published in various newspapers and magazines. She has also 5 books of translations from Punjabi to English and 2 collections of short stories. Her book, Dawn to Dusk, is a collection of 58 middle articles published in prominent newspapers. The Icicle, a collection of short stories, is her 7th book, her first in creative writing. Next, we have Ms. Sneha Goel, who is a poet by heart, a writer by passion, a teacher who teaches English grammar and creative writing to young children and grown-ups. Being a domestic violence victim, a survivor, writings are greatly influenced by issues faced by a woman since her birth. She has published a poetry collection, Where Women Stands. We also have with us Roopali ma'am, who is a former professor at Delhi University, a poet, author, travel writer, editor, and social justice activist, founder, president of Yuvati. Her book, The Twice Colonized Women in African Literature, is a seminal book on women's issues. She has edited a significant anthology entitled In All the Spaces, Diverse Voices in Global Women's Poetry. I think now we can have the launching of the book by Dr. Narinder Jit Kaur ma'am.
Can we invite Prasanna also? Oh, yes, okay. So here's the book.
Great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, ma'am. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Blessings of the goddess Saraswati. Wonderful.
Artist, congratulations to you, ma'am. The stories are wonderful in the book. They are so touching, so sensitive, so moving that it, really brings us to a different level. And so much struggle in all the books. I can really feel them.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Now I request Narendra ma'am to speak about her book. Please, ma'am, go ahead. The mic is all yours.
Thank you so much, Gargi. And first of all, let me thank Prasanna Kumar, Dr. Roopali Sircar Gaur, and Sneha Goel for giving me this opportunity to be a part of Fertile Brains and Yuvati. I connected with Mr. Prasanna Kumar through poetry writing, and I became a part of the collection of short stories that were published on the title that uh, we rise by lifting others. And then I had been participating in Sunday poetry sessions uh, once or twice. And I connected with Madam Roopali through that platform only. And now today it's an opportunity for me to talk about my book, and I'm very thankful to them to have my book launched in this session. Now, these stories, there are 12 stories in this collection, and the stories, have been with me for quite some time. There are some people I know, there are some incidents that I have witnessed, something I have read somewhere which had got stuck in my mind. So all these things have been there, and I have been uh, trying to write down the stories to give them a final shape. But then, first I was busy writing middle articles, as Gargi told you that there is a book of 58 middle articles. Now, middle articles are based on anecdotes, your personal experiences that you bring out of your memory. Right? Now, it is said that our brain has two major functions. One is memory, one is imagination. Now, I utilized my memory part, and then I thought that why not to use imagination part? And then I thought of writing these stories. Now, these stories are the stories of human struggle, human conflicts, the trials of man's life, the turbulent situations of one's life. And these are existential issues. The conflict is at the deeper level. I have said it earlier also at one platform that we human beings, we get so many tags attached to us as social beings. The moment we are born, we belong to a family. Then we get a name. Then our physical traits, our education, our professional life, our success, our failures. So these are the tags by which people recognize us, people identify us. Now try to take these tags away, one by one, one by one. And what is left when all these, all the guards are down? That is the essence of you. That is the real you. And at that level, there are certain conflicts, there are certain struggles which you keep on fighting in your own very private, very intimate, very introspective moments. Everybody has these struggles. The word never comes to know that, because when you go out, you put on all those identities on you. So these are existential conflicts. And in spite of the conflicts in my story, the common thread is that there is always a hope of redemption, of resolution, of validation. And all my characters, they try to stand up. They try to survive in spite of the struggle. And now we all try to seek that resolution, that validation. Sometimes we don't get it. Some wounds never heal. Life is unpredictable. And sometimes that resolution comes slowly and gradually. You understand things, you reflect upon them, and then you find that, yes, there was the solution. And sometimes that resolution comes, that realization comes in a flash of a moment. Suddenly you realize, oh, this was the point that I was missing. And you have to change your own perception of reality. Only then you can come out of that struggle. That even in the darkest of times, there is always a flicker of hope. It may be a flicker only, but it is always there. And you have to take hold of that flicker, and that will guide you out of that dark phase. And it's not without reason that I have given a shlok from Guru Granth Sahib as dedication. Man tu jot swaroop hai, apna mool pachan. That you are the embodiment of divine light. The only thing is that you have to recognize that light, which is inside you. And you have to realize it. You have to let it take you out of your feelings of situations of doubt. All these struggles, these are not worldly struggles. These are not struggles for worldly success or money or popularity. These are existential issues. These are the struggles which are due to some complex, some uh, uh, low self-esteem, some guilt. So these are the struggles that my stories, they address. There is a vast canvas of my stories as far as settings are concerned, right from a small village, nondescript village, to New York, metros of Mumbai, and that Avni is a educated story writer. Her husband is a big name in the corporate sector. Characters are right from a beggar girl to software engineer in New York. So I have covered different types of different segments of society, but the struggles are identical. And yes, most of my stories, about 7 stories, are women-based stories. They are the women who have been wronged by the patriarchal, misogynist society. They are fighting their battles, but they come out successful. They come out empowered. They come out strong. Avni, who is, bogged down by her misogynist husband, she realizes in a flash of a moment that yes, here I was wrong. My education, my parents' bringing up has taught me a lot. So why I'm feeling so weak? I must stand up for myself. Sarla Bhua, the stepmother, she has been crushed by the society right from the beginning. But then at moment comes that when she decides to take reins of her life into her own hands and her life changes. That Belu is an uneducated domestic help. She doesn't know what feminism is, what the ways of the word are, but suddenly she realizes that her husband needs me, that I have been fighting him, I have been, going against him, I have been trying to feel myself to be independent woman, but men too have hearts. They also are human beings. So my feminism is not a feminism that I am trying to propagate. You find that feminism in small incidents, in small dialogues, in small, the things that are happening in the stories. Now, the first story. Yes.
Excuse me, ma'am. I think we can give the panelists some time to discuss about the book, and later on you can come back to it.
Okay. Thank you. Right.
Thank you. So, Sneha ma'am, would you like to share your views about the book? Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am, but
no. I mean, you can ask somebody else to
finish
speak.
it.
Should I speak further or not?
Later on, ma'am, please let them discuss something, their views.
Okay.
You can come back to later. Okay. Sneha ma'am, please go ahead. The mic is yours.
I should go ahead. Are you asking me to go ahead, Gargi?
No, ma'am, it's Sneha ma'am.
Sneha.
Yeah.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Gargi, and the Fertile Brains for giving me this opportunity to present my point of view on the beautiful book, The Icicle, and Heartiest congratulations to Narendra ma'am to come up with such a beautiful book. Had it not been here, I would not have read it and got such diverse ideas about how life was and has been in between for many people out there. So, what I read, the Icicle is an emotional blend of human experiences under different circumstances. What I like the most is that the protagonists have their negative sides, and that has been emoted without any restriction under different settings and characters, age, and gender. The stories are diverse from the soured relationships turned aggressively fatal during the partition of Punjab in 1947 to a foreigner falling in love with an Indian girl abroad and losing her in ghastly 9/11 incident. I particularly love the two starkly different women in The Lonely Woman from Banikhet and The Reverse Circle. Sonia's Nani, whose ranting seemed to make sense at the end, and Sarla Bhua, who dared to take control of her life at the end. Those 4 days was particularly a difficult read for me as it brought back the scenes of people dying due to the lack of oxygen cylinders. These memories are still so fresh, and reliving them for me was torturous. But reading it from the perspective of a dying person, it gave it altogether a different perspective to the story. Then the silent conversation, the story which builds up where the character of Avni's story is hiding till the end, and when she needs her the most, she comes out. If there is one story that I would love to see on screen, or rather made into a movie or a web series, then it definitely is Who Killed Me. It is a powerful story that needs to be read by every man and woman globally to know who suffers the most during riots. History teaches us what not to repeat, and this story holds a great lesson for all of us. The Icicle, a story which is a love story, it is frozen in guilt and self hatred. How delicately Cebu's emotions are conveyed in a rebellious setting. This is indeed the beauty of Narinder Ji's writing acumen. There is Jagira's accomplishment in being a contributor in the winning of Kargil War, teaching us true meaning of life, and then an 8-year-old Kamli who refuses to cry at her father's death, making us come face to face to the ugly side of this world. The world where people like Priya keep on living with their false pride, who would not bow down no matter what comes their way. These stories make the reader probe who really is happy. Simran's interaction with Piyush in Hit and Run comes as an unexpected twist in the story, and Deepak's unrealized love, which becomes his wound for a decade and finally heals when he faces his own childhood demon. This book is set in different parts of India, but the human emotions and experiences are universal and will be loved by the readers, irrespective of location, gender, and age. This is my understanding of the book and my analysis of the book. Thank you so much for giving me time.
Okay, ma'am. Now I request Roopali ma'am to express her views about the book. Please, ma'am, the mic is all yours.
Well, thank you. Firstly, I'm very honored to be here because, to be able to talk about a book written by a writer like Narinder Jit Kaur and to have all of you here. And of course, Sneha, you've said everything and left me nothing to say. Okay. So I think I shall meet you sometime and give you a little pat on your back. But you had done a wonderful job of
Thank you.
telling us about the book. Am I right? Am I right? Yes. Um, stories. Of late, we've been reading a lot of poetry. So it was a real pleasure to read stories, and I think it was wonderful that there were 12 stories, not 20 stories. There's very little time that we have now to read, and to come across a book which has 12 stories. You pick it up and you can read it, and they are mesmerizing. They're really mesmerizing stories. Uh, there are 12 stories of what I call grace under pressure. How do people face life? We don't even know. Somewhere inside, you're breaking, but nobody knows. Nobody knows about it. Somewhere there's this huge molting going on. You know what molting is in the zoological terms? When an animal or a snake lets go of its skin and gets itself a new skin, it's called molting. So I somehow, found it so interesting. I thought I wouldn't. In fact, my husband said, "Why are you getting all these book into the bed all the time? There are books lying." But I couldn't, not read your book, Narendra Jit Kaur. It was so interesting, and also there was the society. You told us about many societies, many backgrounds. There was marriage. Marriage is a very difficult institution. Sneha just said, we had an introduction where Sneha, has been introduced to somebody who has had an experience of domestic violence. I won't go into that, but she's not the only one. Hundreds of women all over the world are going through this. So marriage is a difficult institution to deal with, and it's very interesting that when a woman walks out of it, she seems to get liberated. There's some kind of a liberation because whatever it is, you're serving. For example, in the story, the 4 day, the lady, she's dying. She knows she's dying, and she sees her husband, and she sees him as very vulnerable because the window frames him. It's like a painting. That framing of that elderly man sitting there is like a painting, and she sees it, and then she thinks he's so vulnerable, and somewhere she realizes he's not. He'll survive. Things will be fine. So we spend our whole life thinking that हमारे बिना काम नहीं चलेगा, हमारे बिना हमारे बच्चे क्या करेंगे, what will they do, how will my husband have his dinner, But then one day we realize that no, we're individual, we have a right to live. So I like the bua, who walks off with her pension. And so does the first story, in which the person who says, "You keep leaving me, you've left me alone. तो मुझे अकेले छोड़ दिया है, you've left me alone." And she also realizes that people are just interested in her money. They're not interested in anything else. And so the way you have been able to go into the heart of human, not struggle so much as realization. Suddenly you realize, yeah, they can all do without me. I need to get out of here. So you have the writer, very interesting. I always told my students that when you write, you transform. And truly, Avni transforms while writing. While she's writing, she's a woman who's cowed down, but she is. But I would also like to point out here, because I think we've, talked about the story. Narendra, you have spoken about the story. Sneha has, that you are a poet. Your stories are full of poetry. Each one of those stories is a poem. It's a poem about human life, about human transformation, but most importantly, language, the metaphors, the similes, the birds flying off, towards the sun and returning. I could just go on and on about the way you have described. Then honor killing. Imagine, you are killed because of somebody else's honor. If you must die, then you want to die for your own honor. I mean, look at that important initiative or important decision made by a young girl that I have to die. But I'll die to save my honor, not my brother's honor. His honor is not important, and you have, the widow there, you have so much loneliness. Your first story is about loneliness, and she overcomes that. Then prejudice. Prejudice, for example, when the young American boy and the Indian girl, their love affair, and the mother is an educated woman, and she's so biased and prejudiced. And truly, I have come across such people. I've never been able to understand that. Then you have the husband seems to, the patriarchal thing is very high, because the whole idea of I'm supporting you, You know, I'm the one who's paying for your rent. I'm the one who's taking care of you. I've given you my name. Those things you have challenged. So there's a lot, you know, the stories challenge the stereotype. Hmm. And then you have the rural, the urban, the rich, the poor. And most interesting to me is the female who's a revolutionary, who's a terrorist. My son once told me that, Mama, if you hadn't become a teacher, you would have been a terrorist. Perhaps, perhaps, because the revolutionary spirit, the spirit to rebel against things that are wrong, you know, are so deeply ingrained inside us, and especially women, but we are suppressed. That is why we are suppressed. The reason why we are suppressed is because if we are not, you know, we blow the lid. So the terrorist woman is an incredible character. I have enjoyed every story. I've also been very touched by the death of people. There's been which is something I would really like to know, why there is so much of, does death release, or death is a transformation? You know, it's a spiritual moment, you know, when you pass from one state of life to another. What is it that you thought about, Narinder Jit, when you wrote that? And also, uh, why there are so many women characters? Why are there so many women characters? So thank you so much. Uh, Keep writing, and we'll discuss more of it this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roopali ma'am, for your description of all the stories mostly have touched. And you're so right in saying that stories has poetry. You're really right, ma'am. It has poetry, imagery, and the lucid language is really lovely. Prasanna sir, would you like to say something about the book?
Later, after the session.
Okay. Then I would like to express my views about the book, ma'am. Your stories are remarkable. Each has a different story. The characters are from a beggar girl to the characters in New York and metropolitan cities. You use sarcasm, sardonic tone in most of your stories. The language is lucid, clear, but it is beautifully woven like a carpet displaying an intricate picture. While discussing one of your stories, you said, "It is so sad and ironic that during partition, while men were killed out in the streets, women are killed within the four walls of their houses. While men were killed by their adversaries, women were killed by their fathers and brothers. All because of the word honor, in which is a very digressive term, is associated with women. This word is a burden she carries on her shoulder, and if anything goes wrong, she is discarded in the name of honor. Your stories revolve around loneliness, insecurity, mental pain, which perhaps can be healed. In your 11th story, Peanuts and Cheese Balls, I really like the protagonist female character, Priya, was an obdurate lady doing a company secretary job alone in India. When her husband, mother-in-law, was staying in US, Priya's husband Rahul asked her to leave India for US, but she was firm in her decision not to leave India. Later, when she met her domestic maid Belu in a local train, she realized how happily she was enjoying her married life and with a child. Priya felt like a defeated soldier on a battlefield, neither the company of her husband nor the love of her children she had. I mean, you totally digress the roles of both of them. That is really wonderful, ma'am, in your book. And also in your fourth story, The Reverse Circle, Sarla Bua was leading a pathetic life with deep scars hidden within. Sarla was married to Srikant. She did everything for the family. She gave so much to life, but what did she get? But later on, she went away desperately with her pension. That was a very nice thing about your story, ma'am. You have given it a different jolt. And you are a feminist and voices your concern for women in an assertive tone. In the sixth story, The Silent Conversation, Avni, the girl who's from academic family, she was writing a novel when her husband told her, "Come to Mauritius for a trip." And she realized that why should I go with him? Why not can I go for a reunion? This shows your advocacy to the claims of man and you give wings to the freedom, fraternity of women. Your characters develop from flat to round in most stories. I wholeheartedly congratulate ma'am for launching your book and for being a successful author, receiving global acclaim. Thank you so much, ma'am. Hope to read more of your books.
Yes. Now, should I answer? Am
Yes.
I audible? Should
Yes,
I
ma'am.
answer Ma'am Roopali's question, or Sneha, you too have some questions?
No, ma'am. It's like something that I got answer to my questions when I read the books, read the stories.
Okay. Now, Roopali ma'am, first thing is that if women will not write for women, men will not write. Right? So, women are, there are many stories which are women-based stories, because I can relate to their problems, I can relate to their issues, I can empathize with them, and I, through my writing, can give them some power. I can give them some strength to fight, to come up strong, to realize their own self-worth, right? So the writer has to be empathetic towards the characters. I don't think a male writer can understand the working of a woman's mind and woman's heart and what she feels and how she feels and how she should come out of it. That was my main concern, because I I belong to this world. I belong to Nimmo, I belong to Kamli, I belong to Avni. They are a part of me somewhere. Right? One thing. Second thing is that, you know, the writer has to be empathetic. Or the writer is responsible for each and every character that he or she has created. Right? If if I am talking about women, I cannot be sarcastic or derisive or cynical about men. Right? Now, all the stories which are based on men characters, male characters, I have treated them with very soft empathy. I have presented them that they too have their own struggles, they too have their own existential issues. Although their issues are not related vis-a-vis women. Right? Jagira has his own issue. He's a young boy who wants to achieve something in life. And he's a young boy, he's a daily wager who wants to have wants acknowledgement, acceptance, and appreciation from people. And I think we all have a little bit of Jagira in us. We all want that acceptance from people. We want to do something that we can make a name for ourselves. The issue of Alex, you know, you have said, you have talked about, you have your own perspective. Every reader has a right to his or her own perspective. But for me, this is a story of two young lovers who are standing at the two extremes of cultural spectrum, the Oriental and the Occidental, Western and Indian. Their cultures are different, yet they fall in love. But it is the story of family setup. Alex is a product of a broken home, which is very common in the West. And his pain is very palpable in just one sentence when he says that I have two homes and two sets of parents and a horde of half brothers and half sisters, yet I don't belong anywhere. So he has that. And when he finds that this family system, Indian family system, between the bond between the mother and the daughter, he's so impressed by it, that how the mother has made sacrifices for the daughter, and how she has fought against the society. She has come to Delhi and brought up her daughter single-handedly. Now he wants to be a part of that family, and he starts looking at that mother as his own mother. Although the mother has her own, her own justification. In 2001, 9/11 took place in 2001, 22 years back. At that time, divorce was a stigma. And she knows what the life of a single mother is because she herself has gone through that. She knows that how she has brought up her daughter, and she cannot see her daughter facing the same thing that she has. She is justified. But look at that boy. Even in that moment of frenzy, in that moment of crisis, when the building collapses, and it is taken for granted that it is understood that Sunita has died. At that moment also, he says, please somebody inform her mother. Please call her because Sunita is her only daughter. And even after that, he feels that I must tell her how much her daughter loved her. This is the conflict that arises after the death of the girl. And, because he says that she should feel, because the last moment when the girl died, before that they had a argument, and the mother was upset. So he says that the mother, the mind of the mother should be at peace. She should not have any misgivings about her daughter. And otherwise, in normal circumstances, no Westerner would bother about these. The Western people, they are very practical. They don't bother. But he finds that family bond very important because this is something that he has missed. So that male character is also a very, very positive character. Then look at Piyush. Piyush's pain is, like eating into his, all the male characters that I have created with empathy. Now, you want to ask something, Roopali ma'am, regarding this?
No, I would definitely like to say that what you're saying is, comes out very clearly, and something that you said, that if you don't speak for women, who will? Because men will never understand what it is. Just as we don't understand men so well. But I remember a little saying which says that till lions begin to write their own story, tales of hunting will always celebrate the hunter. So that's why lions have to write their own story. And I really celebrate your book for bringing out the lives of women, for bringing out what we go through, and yet not, yet living in a society which is patriarchal, which has been like that for hundreds of years, but being able to overcome that and find ourselves. I think that's very strong. I loved one character who resonates my thinking, and that is Jagira, because Jagira, of course, doesn't come in conflict with any female or anything like that. But the realization that, when I went to, my husband's in the army, so I've traveled to very far-flung areas of this country. So far away, in the northeast and in Ladakh and places like that, the border roads, which take our soldiers and take travelers there, are built by, very hardworking coolies and laborers, and their contribution I have always felt. I've always felt that without them we are nobody. And so that you were, when you're writing a certain kind of stories, and then you write a story like Jagira, I don't have a hat, but my salute to you, salam to you, you know, as an author, as a writer, as a thinker, that the contribution of the commonest person and how he celebrates that contribution, it's brought tears to my eyes. I always tell people, "Aapke paas kitna bhi paise ho, without the labor, you cannot build your house. You'll be sitting on the roadside."
Yeah.
They are the most important people in our lives. So thank you so much for bringing out these stories, and thank you so much
And
for
you
telling
said
us.
something. You said something about death. That why there is death in so many
Yes, yes.
stories. One thing is that there are three period stories, and all those period stories, they stand for death and devastation. Whether it was partition, whether it was 9/11 attack, or whether it was COVID. right? So these stories, they deal with how the death, how the devastation impacts the common man, right? How it impacts the people far flung. You know, 9/11 takes place in New York, but how many families all around the world, like Sunita's mother in India, somebody in Mexico. So how many people were affected by that,
Affected.
right? Now, otherwise, there are deaths in the stories because death comes as a realization of life, what life is. Uh, Shibu's story, how the death of her husband, the sacrifices that he has sacrificed his life for the movement, right? He dies because he didn't want to give away the secrets of the movement. He doesn't want to get arrested. But how that death has impacted a common person, Shibu, and how that guilt is eating into it. But the last scene in that story, when she is unveiling the statue, it stands for that she will take his legacy further. He will carry forward the
Yes.
the the responsibilities that he has left behind. Then otherwise, in Who Killed Me, the death has to be the death of the Muslim girl is central to the story, and that's why we come to know what was happening with the woman. Otherwise, now the story that you are talking about, the first story, Tara Devi's story, her husband dies. It's a natural death, right? He was getting old and he dies. But she's she's saying, Mohan Singh, you left me all alone. But it's not a regret. If you look at it, it's not a regret, but she's missing him at every stage of life, whenever she is facing hardships in life. And this love for that man and this refrain, it becomes small doses of oxygen for her. She is going on because on the basis of this, that you should have been with me, and that memory of her husband is giving her strength. And even in the end, she says, okay, you left me alone. So this is a sign that I will come out of this also. I will fight this also. So how death gives you strength, how death gives you, how it shatters you. So death is a binary of life. Life and death, there are two parts of life. One complements the other. One gives the strength, the one shatters. The hope in life gives you strength. So that's why the life goes
Okay.
on.
Gargi, if you permit me, I'll just say a few words and then you can carry on asking the others.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure Sneha has something more to say. I would also
Yes.
like to comment, not just the thematic, thematically we have commented a lot, that your stories are extremely well structured. They create a kind of interest, when you start reading it. I want to know more. I want to know what's going to happen, and that's the interest that you build up in your story. The other is that it's extremely graphic. The very fact that your reader is disturbed by, say, the COVID, the story of the COVID death. It means that it's so graphic, and that's what stories should be. So I would also like you to, when after we have had Prasanna say something also, Gargi may have something to say, and so does Sneha. Is that did you plan these that, okay, I'm going to write about a terrorist, I'm going to write about a writer, I'm going to write about this? Or did they just come? Was it a spontaneous overflow of your emotions and feelings, the things that you have seen and experienced yourself? Because you've said that every one of us have stories inside us. Each one of us has a story inside us. So I think, Gargi, you can carry on with your, moderating us.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Narinder, ma'am, there's a question for you. May I ask?
Yes,
Uh,
sure.
uh, Reading all of your stories, ma'am, I found a lot of insecurities, unrest, tension in your stories. Now, do you attribute them to yourself or some biographical stance? Why is there so much tension and insecurities in the stories? How do you attribute them to?
You know, when we talk of existential issues, what is existential issues? the issues that threaten your very existence. Right? So the things that threaten your existence, they cannot be pleasant. They cannot be pleasant. They have to be they have to have some tension in them. They have to have some struggle in them. Existential issues come as a challenge. Right? So, uh, but in each story, there are some light moments. Why not? Even that Shibu, the tribal woman, she's she's one thing. Let me tell you that sometimes what happens that we take a position against some people, right? We take a position against the terrorists. That the terrorists are like these heartless people, very cruel, very emotionless people, right? But has anyone ever tried to think that the terrorists too have a softer side to them? She is a young girl, she is in love, and she indulges in small banter, teasing and bullying her brother and her husband, right? And there is a very romantic conversation between Shibu and Potu when he's talking about the eyes and how he fell in love. So tensions are your own, which you deal with when you are all alone. There are deep, you know, even a person who's looking very happy from the outside, inside he has some issues. Inside he has some tension. You don't let the world know about it. So you move around as a happy, successful uh, person in love, having everything in life, yet there is something that is, eating into your mind, eating into your heart. So there are like even in that those 4 days, you know, there are two lines, two processes going on. One is that she's thinking of her family, the conversation with the boys, what she is talking of that. Okay, I wanted to die in a very filmy style. I picked up a photo of mine and told my husband that use it for my last prayer. These are the things which are giving her strength, which she's trying to keep her connection with life intact. She doesn't want to let go of that. Whereas on the other hand, the harsh reality is the ceiling of the hall, the fan, ceiling fan rotating with a crunching sound, the tubes, the cylinder, the PPE kits, and the doctors and nurses. So these are two parts of life. So, and they go hand in hand. So in order to keep your hold on life, we keep ourselves happy. But there is another side of life that we have certain issues which we know, and we are fighting with them. So because these are stories, you come to know about the tension of the people. Otherwise, everyone has some tension in his life. I must be having, everybody must be having. Because I'm talking of the inner struggle of people, so these are full of challenges, full of tension. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Anyways, your stories are very well structured and you delve into the psychology of each character so well, what is going on in their minds, They are really enjoyable, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sneha, ma'am, would you like to ask her some questions about the book or characters or whatever? Maybe so.
Yes, I wanted to ask why Kamli? Like,
Yeah.
she's altogether a different character in the book, 8-year-old girl and a beggar. So why Kamli among other stories? Like, all are something different. Like, she is from another world. We cannot think of a story from that angle. Haven't seen any maybe on screen also. So why Kamli in this book?
It's very easy to write about the people from your own social segment. I can write very easily about middle class people, people I have met, people I have, interacted, my friends, my family, everything. Because I share their experiences, I know what they are, how they are moving in life, because I am a part of them. But to talk about that segment of society with which I don't have any connection, I don't have any affiliation, I cannot relate to their experiences. So to delve deep into their soul and see what is going on there, what their conflicts are, how they are managing them. That is a challenge to the writer. That is very difficult, but it's here that the mettle of a writer is proved. Now, this is a story of two women. There are three characters. Two are active, one is dormant. Baba is, invisible sort of. Both the women, they have their own, and the whole, premise of the story is built on their impressions about the third character. What Kamli thinks about the father, what the wife thinks about man. And their impressions are contradictory to each other. And I was very particular that the writer does not intrude. The writer does not interfere. Writer is not trying to take side that Kamli was right or the mother was right. So they have their own impressions and they go like this. But Kamli is a young girl. She is not, wary of begging. Money is not the issue. She says, but she doesn't want to beg in the name of her father's death because she loves the father. For the child, the father is a father. She cannot understand the realities, the social realities or the familial realities. But as I said, that writer is responsible for every character. Right? Before the reader forms a very unfavorable impression about Amma, the writer, there is a scene where the mother is telling the girl, why I beat you, why I keep you hungry. Now, anybody reading that will say that what a weird argument, that I beat you because tomorrow your husband is going to beat you. But if you think about it deeply, in that segment of society, among the beggars, among the slum dwellers, this is a reality. Women are resilient, men are not. And poverty drives men to frustration. Frustration at the guilt of their own failure to provide for the subsistence of the family. And in frustration, they take to drinking, and then they pour out all their frustration and guilt and anger on women. Domestic violence is a norm. Now, the mother cannot see a better future for her daughter. She knows what is in store for her. She cannot change her fate, but at least she can prepare her. She can train her to face all that. And this is what I will call a very sad, convoluted, inverted face of feminism, and it exists in our society. So this is a story of two women. Now, what happens in the end? As I said, that there has to be some resolution, and the whole conflict in Kamli's mind is, why my mother says that the father was a bad man, he was a useless man. So ultimately, that young girl draws her own conclusion that no, my father was the breadwinner. The money that used to come home was in the name of his death. He was so whether this argument is justifiable or not, but she makes that conclusion to soothe her frayed nerves. It comes as a redemption for her, and she comes out of that conflict. Let mother say anything that she wants to say, but I know that my father was the breadwinner. So, if this is about a beggar girl, it could have been anybody else. Just look at, it could have been a very high class couple, always in conflict with each other, and the children suffering, children not coming to understand what is happening, right? But I had tried to look into the psyche of that girl, the deprived class, what their issues are, what their conflicts are, what their challenges are. So this is the story.
Gargi, with your permission, may I just say one word here? There
Please.
are, the book has some, covers women and men of all ages, young, old,
Yeah. 8 years to 80 years.
ugly, beautiful, everything. But very interesting to me always is the absence of something, but they're not absent here. There are two children who play a very important role. One is you've spoken at length about Kamli. The other is in the story where the second chance that doesn't happen. In the end, the man is transformed because of the presence of that child. The child reminds him that a mother can never be weak. That there is, a mother is always strong. So the mother figure stands out. I would like to say this, and then I think I'll hand it over to Gargi. And I think Prasanna, you must, before we conclude, say a few words also.
I would like
Gargi,
to
you're
ask.
the.
Now, I would like
Yes,
to ask
Prasanna.
Narinder Jit ma'am to describe herself, imagining her younger days, like in the school and college days. Describe herself,
Myself,
Yeah.
I was a very naughty child, very chirpy girl. Even, now also, I'm the naughtiest person in the family. I am the chatterbox of the family. And I'm the queen of the family. But, I come from a family, we were 4 sisters and 2 brothers. 1 sister and 1 brother, they have passed away. But we are all storytellers in our family. My mother she's 92 now. And she still is so energetic in the sense that she's mentally very alert. She can bring out anecdotes from 1950s and describe them with great details and precision. So we have taken that storytelling from our mother. And when we sit together, so we have very interesting sessions. Everybody, coming out with. So that is, then I'm very fond of reading books. I still read many books in all the 3 languages. And because my husband is in the university, so we have a very academic atmosphere at home. He has 10 academic books to his credit. So he keeps on writing. I keep on writing. And my sons have read all my stories. They gave their not only feedback, but their suggestions also. So it's like that. We are a very close-knit, happy family. And though both, yes, there is some, if you say that, if there is any story that has some autobiographical touch in that, this is those 4 days, right? And I'm not the patient. We didn't have, touch wood, we didn't get serious COVID. But what the family setup, both my sons are abroad, right? And the conversations with the boys on video call like this, that is all my family setup. So this is how that we have. So I was a studious person in school and college and university. I worked very hard, and I have been I think that I have been a successful teacher also. What else? What else should I say about myself?
That was lovely listening to you, ma'am. Any other questions from any others or any other observations about the book?
Well, now you're a successful writer. You're also a successful writer, great writer. It's been a pleasure to talk to you and read your book, and I'm sure it'll really go far. And a lot of readers after our launch, there'll be a lot of readers, because we've discussed your book very thoroughly. And we'll also part of our work is to promote your book and to carry on talking about it and telling people about it. Maybe we'll write reviews. We'll write reviews. Anything else, Gargi?
Yes, ma'am.
I think
I would just like to add
I think I could go ahead with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see a whole lot of, kind of, evolved being, the reason of, asking my question is that Narinder Jit Kaur ma'am is undoubtedly is an embodiment of experience. The way she looks at the things and the understanding the socio-psychological aspects, the balancing of maintaining oneself, without, surroundings and, expressing the thoughts and all. And making them say more, than what the milieu that surrounds, with, the
Yes.
characters talking and having them made, having a backstory and, or rather the character being, being a writer conversing within herself or whatever it is, a character, created one to deal with the internal and inner commotion or internal, whatever that trauma that is, holding within. And this is actually the theme that is based on, kind of spatio temporal, I would
Yes,
say
yes,
it's
yes.
a magnificence
Yes,
and
to be
that's
honest.
trying to be and that's
The
a
stories have
perfect
a universality in it.
universal reality. So I just recommend all the viewers to buy this book and, have a thorough reading. And I liked it, every character, especially the bigger one.
And
And
I think the icicle is that frozen moment, that moment
Yes.
and the
when
See,
you
that
have
is a
frozen
frozen moment.
everything.
ones.
You're a great writer, Narinjit. We are very, very privileged and very honored.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I feel honored and
Okay.
blessed.
Actually, what I would like to say is with all the characters or stories, you have a lot of identification. You identify yourself with them. Like what would happen in this situation? And that's how she brings out the story so
Yes.
well, isn't it? And she goes to the minds of the characters, what would have been in this situation. Like she said about Alex, her mother, she felt that I must tell her that she is no more. Why did she say this? Because in her love letters, she used to always say that I cannot lose my mother. He felt that she loved her mother more than anyone else. And so
Yes.
he made it a point that she should be informed first about her death.
How much
Did
the
he?
daughter loved her. Yeah.
Yes. That's why, he felt that it must be informed to her mother first that she is no more.
She's no more.
So Narinder Jit ma'am is like a genial grandmother who has a portfolio of repertoire of experiences, and she's picking out items from that, narrating the stories to all her audience. It's like a rainbow. She has a wide spectrum of emotions about and the gift for storytelling. It was wonderful having you here, ma'am, reading, launching your book, and sharing your thoughts about the same. I recommend everyone to buy the book, and my proud privilege to be here. Thank you, Prasanna sir, Roopali ma'am, Sneha ma'am, all of you to be here.
Thank you so much, Prasanna sir, Roopali ma'am, Sneha, and Gargi, fertile brains, and Jyoti, to honor me with this chance to talk about my book and listen to literary luminaries to talk about my book. Thank you so much. Thank you.